Agenda review, disposition, anything to add to tonight's agenda?
All set, Mr. Chairman.
Minutes of January 7th, 2019. I'll entertain a motion to approve as stated.
Also moved.
Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Privilege of the floor. Anybody care to speak tonight?
So I know there's a warrant article for the resource officer. If, and I know it goes to the county, it gets reallocated, but if it doesn't pass, can we reevaluate a social worker instead of a resource officer? I don't see a lot of evidence supporting resource officers and the social needs. I mean, I work in the emergency room, see every day, drugs and alcohol, and all this stuff that just needs support. And these kids are the ones who are on the receiving end of, family situations, and they'd be better served with social work input than a resource officer.
Tonight, the community can do anything it wants. So you can ask the board to change warrant articles. You can do all kinds of things tonight. This is really a night for the community to say, this is what we want. If you change the intent of that warrant article tonight to be a social worker, then tomorrow night at the deliberative session, I'll inform the high school that the intent has been changed across the street. That district will do what it wants to do, of which you guys are part of that district. Yeah, you're free. The community's free to do what it wants. I mean, the warrant article is there. The request to the board, based on some comments that were talked about probably in September, August, September. It was early in the fall. So that's what the community can do tonight. Technically, if they vote down the warrant article, if it went forward and it got voted down, then there would be no money for anything. It would just not even be raised, because that'd be gone. Right, exactly. So tonight's a good night to have that, when we go into the next room, have that conversation.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Principal's report.
Good evening. I just quick want to give a shout out to our team at school for today's early dismissal. Just the community, the parents, our teachers, our staff. It was very sweet. Kelly and I were just saying it was very smooth, and appreciate the support from Mark and Mr. Parsons next door. And so when those moments happen, you just have to say everyone was great. So thank you for that. We also spent time at Plymouth Elementary School over the last couple of weeks, taking time to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In the older grades, they had some pretty deep conversations. Some of the students had never seen the speech, I Have a Dream. They were shown that speech and had conversations. And I think they were really well facilitated by our teachers as well. They talked about prejudice and protesting, civil rights, and the whole concept of legacy. Other grades used a lot of the great literature that we have, and our fifth grade did a performance task on the concept of bravery, and there's some writing over on the bulletin board that they did as well, and talked about bravery, and then personalized it for students as well. They, in addition to Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks, they also recognized Malala, the young girl from Pakistan who was shot for speaking out for girls' education. And like Martin Luther King, she won the Nobel Peace Prize. So it's just a great conversation that expands, and I think our students appreciate it. Speaking of bravery, we had some very brave students participate in our spelling and geography bees. They have to get up ahead of their peers and spell different pretty challenging words and respond to some really challenging geography questions. So the winners this year for the intermediate spelling bee was Iris Lamoureux and the runner-up was Isabella Sun. The middle school spelling bee was Matthew Cleary. He won first place, and the runner-up was Jason Vaughn. And the national geography bee was the first place winner was Jason Vaughn, and the runner-up was Nathaniel Gervais. And just wanted to say congratulations to that bright crew. I am always amazed at how Dr. Patricia Lindberg at Plymouth State University pulls our community together through the arts. She's done it now for 25 years. This was the 25th year. So again, it's incredible. I'd like to recognize her amazing contribution to our community, but would also like to recognize the swimmingly wonderful performances of our PES students who took part in last week's The Little Mermaid. Samantha Batchelder, Reese Hall, Addison Elaine, Nana Billen, Remington Cormier, Lola Fellows, Holly-Anna Johnson, Autumn Lane, Ariane Lee, Shelby McDonald, Parker Tyrell, Amelia and Johanna Wakefield. They were great, and it was a wonderful performance, and it was wonderful to see students there supporting their friends. A lot of hard work. On January 23rd, our students and staff, kindergarten through grade 5, had an opportunity to have Tiger, Tiger, here in action. Before the show, it was great walking down the hall. The students, it's such a part of our culture. They're like, I love Tiger. I love Tiger. And so they get excited, and every year they're a little different. This year a lot of us talked and said it was especially powerful. They changed up the acronyms. And now they have T, take care of yourself, eat healthy, exercise often, follow a routine, and get rest. The I is imagine, make connections to others and ideas every day. Look for opportunities for self-discovery when things go wrong. G, grow your confidence and nurture a positive view of you. Keep things in perspective and maintain a hopeful outlook in life. E is empathize. Always be kind and help others whenever you can. And R, respect yourself and others and show resilience. Understand that change, good and bad, is part of life. And so they bring these pretty powerful concepts to life. And our students respond positively. Mr. Sheehan, our guidance counselor, follows up the messaging using a curriculum that follows up with the Tiger concept, again created at Plymouth State University. On February 13th, our middle school students will also have a performance here by the same group, but it's obviously designed for older students, and it's called Bystander, A Portrait in Apathy. So we're really, again, fortunate to have such talent in our backyard. Also from our backyard, we had a great presentation for our middle school students on the dangers of juuling last Friday, right before our school dance, which was great timing. The presentation came from a group out of Katy called YAC, Youth Advisory and Advocacy Council. The presentation was well represented and directed by current Plymouth Regional High School students who presented clear and direct facts on the dangers of juuling, the health implications, and the overall current epidemic that is occurring in several school communities. Plymouth Elementary School middle school students were attentive, and many asked poignant questions to further clarify their concerns or confusion about how juuling is having an impact on young adults. It's that whole student-to-student model, which is really powerful. And again, I don't know if it was a coincidence, but we did have a middle school dance last Friday, and the vibe was one of the best we've had in a long time, just really positive. Students were dressed up. There was a photo booth that Mrs. Weatherby and Mrs. Stock led, and then overall just a great group of chaperones and students, so it was great. And last but certainly not least, last Wednesday we completed our winter program. While many parents and community members and staff helped to make the program so successful, I would like to extend a special thank you to our librarian, Beth Wilkie, who is passionate about the program and is experienced in working with different ski areas. I'd also like to thank Amy McKenney. She's dedicated countless hours and energy to making sure all the details of permission forms and funding are all set. Upcoming dates, this Thursday, we have our winter concert, grades 4 through 8. February 13th, we have our bystander, a portrait of apathy. February 15th, we have the PTA luau, not to be missed. February 18th, half day. That's a Monday, that's President's Day, and that's a half day for parent-teacher conferences. We have February vacation, February 25th through March 1st, and just March 14th, we are going to celebrate Pi Day. That's P-I, Pi Day. So.
All set? Okay, moving on, we'll start off with some athletic information. So our Plymouth Elementary basketball teams have all concluded their seasons. All the teams played really hard and showed a lot of improvement. Our 5th and 6th teams, we changed it up a little bit this year and spread them out, so it was an extended season, which allowed for some more practice time for all of those grade levels, which was great. We had 35 students participating on those teams, and the girls finished with a record of 5-4, while the boys team ended at 9-0. Our 7-8 basketball teams finished with 22 athletes, and again, a lot of growth in their play. It was fun to watch as they went on through the winter. The girls finished with an 11-1 record, and the boys to even things out, finishing 6-6. And from this 8th grade group, we'll graduate 6 boys and 4 girls from the 8th grade class, and many thanks to those 8th graders who were good leaders on the floor for us this year. Several of the players are returning next year. We look forward to another lot of fun for those kids again. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank our basketball coaches, Gavin Brickley, Emma Duggan, Jason Duchette, who all headed up the 5th and 6th grade groups, Jeff Downing, John Francis, and Joe George, who took on the 7th and 8th grade. And they do put in a lot of time and effort, and great group to work with. So many thanks to them. Still going for us are our Nordic skiers and our wrestlers. The skiers have had 4 races under their belts. We've been very fortunate, only losing one event so far to the extreme cold temperatures. Opted not to go up and ski in negative temps. But we've had the fortune also of not having to travel as far for some of our races that were hosted by Conval and Sauhegan down in the southern end of the state. Because of their lack of snow, they got pushed up a little bit closer to us, and so we were traveling over to Plainfield. So on January 12th, our girls team placed first, and the boys were second overall while skiing at Plainfield. Again, on the 19th, we were there. Girls captured first place once more, and several of the boys skied well, many showing improvements. And on January 26th, we were skiing closer to home here, right up the road at Holderness Prep School, in one of the New Hampshire Series races. On the girls' side, we had some great finishes. Addie England placed 4th overall out of 77 racers on the girls' field. Annie Flynn and Emma Smith were next for Plymouth, placing 18th and 22nd overall, with a lot of the girls skiing well. There were 111 competitors on the boys' race, and Leo Ebner placed 11th overall, and Nathaniel Gervais not very far behind him, finishing at 18th. So they did great on a big field of racers. We went back to Plainfield again this past Saturday for the Sauhegan Sprints. I don't have any of the results from that yet. And then coming up next Saturday on the 9th, we'll be heading back up to North Conway at the Whitaker Woods for a race there. And just in talking with the coaches, they just want to note that a lot of our students, many of them who have minimal or no ski background at all, are really showing some nice improvements and definite perseverance on the course. They've really been happy with watching kids finish these courses. Some of them are kind of tough, so they've done well. The wrestling team, we've had a few weather bumps in the road. Unfortunately, one date, which is not bad, was canceled due to the weather. 2 others were postponed, but we were able to make those up. Some of the highlights that we've had from January 12th, large Cardigan Mountain Tournament. We had Mason Lassard place first, Jack Witcher was second, Frankie McLean, Matt Cleary, James Phipps, and Andrew Como all were third place, and Caden Sanborn and Emmett Nosman placed 4th. On the 19th of January, they traveled to Concord for the Runlet tournament and had another impressive showing with 8 athletes placing. Matt Cleary, Emmett Nosman placed first. Anthony Torres and Mason Lassard were second. Frankie McLean, Andrew Como both placed third. And we had Jacob Heath and Jack Witcher were fourth place finishers. January 31st, we were able to make up our White Mountain and Newport match, along with the Plymouth High School wrestlers right next door. And for that evening, Coach Stewart wanted to highlight that Caden Sanborn, Jack Witcher, and Ben Valente all won their matches by pinning their opponents. So that's good stuff. We were supposed to host Mascoma tonight. Unfortunately, we had to postpone that one. We'll see if we can make that one up. And then some big events that they have coming up are the Novice States and the Meet of Champions. Those are held at Timberlane High School and Kearsarge Regional on February 10th and 17th. And all 17 of our wrestlers are entered to compete in those events, so that's great. A few quick safety updates. On January 16th, we had a site survey done of our phone lines, and in talking with John Francis, he thinks that work will be done this week to replace the lines from copper to fiber. This will allow, as he said, some of the copper that was failing to be replaced, but more importantly, now any 911 call that comes from our building is immediately identified by dispatch in terms of the exact location where the call was made. So if a call is made from middle school classroom N3, it's going to show up exactly as that to the dispatcher, which is great because they can relay that information right away to the emergency personnel who are responding. And then on March 26th, a little ways away, but at 6:30 p.m., the PTA and Plymouth Police Department are again going to host another Avoid, Deny, Defend training for any parents and faculty and staff that would like to attend. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Consent items, claims and payroll, we all have signed off. Correspondence?
There is none, Mr. Chairman.
Discussion items, fiscal year 19 financial update.
Yes, board members, in front of you have a revenue update, which is the single sheet, and also appropriations expenditure report, which is the one you recognize. We're running extremely tight, which is no surprise to all of you. You can see most of the known expenses are encumbered, including some sort of surprise special education expenses that we have. You can see the available balance at the moment is $31,142, which is 99.59%, and we are 5 months out, so it's really, really, really tight. So, Julie and Kelly are doing a nice job, but we may have to do some cutting of things that are typical later in the spring, field trips and other sorts of things that just may not be available in order to bring this in. So we will plod along, we catch a couple breaks here or there, we'll take advantage of them, but we're just going to go slow with the expenditures. All right.
Any questions? Budget from Mark? All right. Budget hearing prep.
Yes, board members, you have a folder. Those are the handouts for tonight's budget hearing. Included is a blue sheet with a proposed warrant that, with the board's permission, can be amended tonight. That's what this public hearing is for. The green sheet is a brief explanation sheet of the warrant articles plus the tax rate impact. And then the pink sheet you've seen before, that's some of the changes between the 2 fiscal years and why the budget is going up. And then the line-by-line budget that's in front of you. If it's all right with the board, what I'd like to do tonight is focus on we tend to go from the minutia and kill everybody. And then when we want to talk big picture, people are just, because they've been bogged down in minutia. I like to switch that and talk about the individual warrant articles first, also what some of the things that are happening at the state, and then go into the budget in a big picture on the summary page, and then happy to answer any line item things, Julie and Kelly and myself. And then if the folks have policy questions that the board, you know, like Greg's question of, you know, what about a social worker? That's something, a conversation for the board and the community. So just a little bit, just raise it up to a kind of a bird's eye view of things rather than down in the what's this for and that line item and what's that for. We all kind of know that stuff. So other than that, Mr. Chairman, that's sort of.
Any questions for Mark on any of the information in this packet?
And then folks in the crowd will have all those 4 sheets too.
All right. Any other business today?
I don't have any non-public. There's nothing to do in non-public. There's no.
Nothing?
No.
All right, well, I'm privileged of the floor too.
I just wanted to say thank you to the board and administration for supporting their program. As a parent and as a teacher in the primary wing, I can't express how impactful and powerful this program is. It's so unique to our community, and I'm so appreciative of all of the support that it receives. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to add on to what Julie said about Tiger. My son is in kindergarten, and when we went to see Little Mermaid, he looked at the ad in the booklet and was able to see that it wasn't the tiger people, and was thrilled to see it, and he talked about it. So that's a really good program as well.
Okay. Well, no other input from the public at the moment, so nothing in non-public, so I entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.